All right, folks, I'm here live 5x5, all the rest of the good stuff like that there. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight over on the Facebook side, over on the YouTube side. So we got a simulcast going on here and good stuff like that there. And seeing you on a happenstance, but not unexpected. Pretty much everybody knew sometime along the way that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was not going to be surviving too terribly much longer. Rest in peace. Politically, we were completely, and I do mean diametrically opposed any possible way you could think about it. There is just no way on this planet Earth you could ever say that she did something that I'm like, oh yeah, man, woo, right into it. Yeah. There is no way, and I do mean as in no way, could I ever possibly be anything but a completely diametrically opposed. I'm just playing with something real fast here. It's not making a whole heck of a lot of difference. Okay, well, I got a glare coming off the screen of my computer, so unfortunately, you YouTube guys just got to deal with that one. I'm sorry. It's just one of those things. Oh, maybe I can. No, it's not really doing it. It's just one of those things where the computer screen is just outputting this kind of probably UV. It's all, or some blue light or something, but it's freaking it out. Sorry. I mean, you guys on the Facebook side, you don't have it, but the guys on the YouTube side, they kind of have like half the screen where it kind of has like this almost like radiation glow. I apologize for that one. But anyway, I will maybe tweak tune and see if there's an alternate way I could do this in such a manner that I don't have this going on in future. But, this is like a learning curve thing. So I apologize for that one. So anyway, like I said, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, completely diametrically opposed, 180 out. There's no way in the world we would ever be any way, shape, or form buddies and brothers in arms, anything but just no way about it. But I did respect the fact that she actually made her way to the Supreme Court. John Yost, appreciate you hanging out with me on the Facebook side, and on the YouTube side, we have Donnie C. Appreciate you hanging out with me, and of course, Abrams, appreciate you hanging out. Let me talk about Ruth Bader for a second, then I'll get into Roe v. Wade. She was a very strident, gender-specific enabler, women's rights. I don't really have a problem with that. I have a problem with their mechanizations of doing that. That's the stuff I really had issue with. Now, as to the fact that she was sick with cancer and all the rest of that stuff, blah, 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 blah. I don't know why this is doing this right now. Bugger off. My Win 10 is being annoying, going, you got virus protection. It's like, yeah, that's great. Go away. Sorry. She really was a hard charger, very, very hard charger in the liberal bent. Proceeded to get a lot of stuff done positively for, the female side of the persuasion of the population, which I have no problems with. Yeah. And then, of course, one of my friends, and I'm not going to say who this was, but she tends to be very much the other side of the aisle. Is like, oh yeah, it's only because of her that we can have credit reports and our own credit cards and this, that, and the other things. Like, what kind of suffrage do you think you people are suffering, from like time of memoriam to current? I mean, in the last 40 years, I don't think I've ever heard of a woman that was not allowed to get a credit card because her husband said no. She was really making it sound like, pretty much like, they didn't have voting rights. They didn't have this. The suffrage of females. Oh, the glass ceiling was so blah, blah, blah. And I did not make a comment upon it. And usually is the case nowadays when I encounter something along those lines, I skirt around it. And I was like, you know what? It's not even worth smacking on that bee's nest and getting stung in the ass and everything else along the way there. But anyway, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, rest in peace. You did a hell of a job getting in the Supreme Court, doing that, what you did. Humorously enough, as stridently liberal as she was, Judge Alito, who was the foremost conservative on the bench of the Supreme Court next to Clarence Thomas, when we're going out and bending elbows in the bar later on, But her and Alito actually were like buddies, and I was shocked to hear that, because that's just kind of one of those things that you really truly don't really see that liberals tend to do, is, you know, associate outside their circles. Anything I've ever read about Alito, though, they said he was like probably one of the coolest guys you would ever want to meet. Very down to earth, very humble, and just very, very likable. Truly is missed even to this day. I mean, I thought he was one of the most constitutionally observant and truly knowledgeable on the federal side of things, and the crowning and the coronation of the federal papers and all, all those good things. Alito was just that guy. Now, on the other side of the aisle, of course, you had Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was pretty much the Constitution is a living document. It can be folded, bent, wiped our butt with in any way, shape, and form. I really, truly didn't respect her in that regard, but I did respect her for the fact she was on the Supreme Court, and she was a voice of her side that needed to be, talked to in such a manner that hopefully, potentially, you could make her see your way. Usually she didn't vote alongside Alito. Usually she was in the opposition, but, that was just kind of one of those things. Both of them was going to be on opposite sides of the subject at hand, and they would have opposing votes. So that was just a known thing, and that's how that one's going to work out. Now, like Abram was saying on the YouTube side, Maz, appreciate you coming by, dude. Like Abram was saying on the YouTube side, he was bringing up Roe v. Wade. Now, the biggest problem with Roe v. Wade is it is an overreach of the federal government. Most of the times, and this is exactly how things work. When you vote for somebody, you vote from the local to the state Congress, to the state Senate, to the governorship. Finally, you're working your way to the federal. Never federal to the states. The federal can do a mandate, but the problem with the federal government, and this is something that nobody ever even touches on, is there is only two mandates that the federal government can place on any state. One, it employs taxation. Two, it employs interstate commerce. Now, how can you say that somebody in their own state obtaining an abortion has any rights for the federal government to say, well, that's pertaining to interstate commerce? It has no way, shape, and form whatsoever. And as a medical procedure, which is a service-oriented position, taxation even is kind of one of those squishy things that really they don't really have a whole hell of a lot to say upon. Now, the biggest problem with Roe v. Wade is, of course, it is a states' rights issue. When you do a mandate and you say, well, you must allow gay marriage, or you must allow these things, or this, that, and the other thing, it is now the law of the land. Well, that's kind of one of those squishy things where you start getting into like a First Amendment, 5th, 4th, 10th, 12th. There's scads of amendments that pretty much the federal government steps on wantonly and just goes, yeah, well, we're in control. We can do these things. The Patriot Act, for one, is hugely anti-constitutional. And if it ever truly had a good Supreme Court actually look at it and go, no, this is crap, and start knocking off the biggest pieces of it, it would fail under its own weight, because it is not good legislation from its outset. And that's one of the things I truly, absolutely, and completely abhor George W. One of the things I abhorred W about was he was like, well, I got to put it into place because that's going to be one of those things that's going to be amazing, fix the country, and everything's going to be great. I just got to sign the piece of paperwork. No, it's not going to be amazing, you doofus. You basically screwed everybody. Fingers, I have got a tale of woe to tell you guys, and it comprises tickets, like flying style tickets. Stand by on that one. This is one for the annuals, folks. But anyway, so go back to Roe v. Wade. It's a states' rights issue because they crammed this thing down everybody's throat and said, yes, this is now the federal mandate. You must allow abortion. This, that, and the other thing. The Bible Belt states was like, yeah, good luck with that one. And so now it's come up to the point where you have the reverse of Roe v. Wade being like those states who are now, I'm doing air quotes, legalizing cannabis. Now, the thing is, the cannabis thing is a controlled substance. Obviously, the federal government can say, yeah, well, you're selling drugs. hello, interstate commerce for the transportation, and the sale therein becomes a taxation thing. So they can actually involve themselves on that one. Just like when they had prohibition on alcohol. Interstate commerce for the booze, sale of the booze creates revenue, which then can be taxed. Okay, federal government can put its 2 feet in the air and go, see, we have the balls big enough to say we can do this. We have the balls big enough because we are those guys. As a matter of fact, I would say it's pretty safe to say that we've got, well, we pretty much have got, well, we got,
I've got balls of steel.
Well, you could say that, but I don't know if federally you could actually say that. Because, well, you're pretty much just the federal government. Anytime the federal government shows its balls, no good comes from it, especially if it happens to be a female that's showing her balls. Yeah, no good can come from this. No. Okay, right sound guy. That's exactly. And just a little bit more of, you know it, brother. All right, so anyway, so that's what it is. The biggest problem with the Roe v. Wade, it is a states' rights issue. And the federal government has, even though the federal government, even they can overstep their authority. And they majorly overstep their authority by mandating this legislation to say, you must, you must rip these kids out of the women if they want to, because, well, it's just a secondary form of birth control. And, oh, man, I don't even want to get into the whole, theological side of things. But I'll tell you what, anybody who's a practicing Catholic on seat of Congress, Senate, White House, top on down, you should not be taking communion at this point in time because, well, you're being more than just a little bit naughty. Yes. If you're enabling, which is the grave sin, abortion, which is like one of those don't do it's in the Catholic religion, you're kind of being just a little bit naughty in the eyes of pretty much, yeah, that's a don't do it. Anyway, so looking at that one, let me scroll on over here and see things how they're doing. Oh, Bear Kayshawn, dude, appreciate you coming by. Just saw you came in the room there. Cool. So Dr. Manhattan isn't sitting next to you. Oh, hang on a second. We got to do this right. There we go. Hey, man, you always pull these pearls of minutia out. It's just amazing. Logan Ray, appreciate you coming by, dude. I have my resident Canadian friends checking in now. Too cool. If you missed the first part, obviously this will be in review. You can see it in replay, and it'll be posted up on YouTube and Facebook at your leisure. And catch the replay whenever you wish to. So let me go scrolling over here, and I am going to be jumping. I have a camera over here, which is I'm now pointing at, which is the this would be the Facebook side, and I have a second camera over here, which would be the YouTube side. So I literally have a simulcast now between Facebook and YouTube, and I have my home computer, which is underneath here, so it's a desktop computer, and I have my laptop running the other side of things. So it's simulcast. There's two computers going side by side, big, good stuff like that there. I'm not having to run my new bestest, ass-kickingest, terrorizing type of phone. But it does work rather well. Okay, so now let me just go into, my usual spiel and, stack of stuff. I got very Sean Connery there. I got very Sean Connery there for a second. All right, so scroll. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, and it's a link I put up on my timeline on September 16th. So anyway, it's a YouTube channel called Guga Foods. So Guga. I read Golf Uniform Golf Alpha. So Guga Foods. And they have another one where they do sous vide. And, the guy really does a lot of really amazing cooking and baking. And, he's all meat. He pretty much does all meat. So anyway, give me 1 second here. So pretty much you have this situation where how many times can you dump the charcoal in, fire up the grill, and grill a Wagyu steak, or grill a T-bone, or grill some other form of variety, or cook another style of preparation and, do the meat another way? Well, he experiments. He does let's see what happens if we enrobe the steak in butter and dry age it. And he said that would work really well. Then he said, let's enrobe it in something else and see what happens after I dry age it. Let's dry age it with this on there. Let's dry age it in this type of style. Let's wet age it on this type of thing. So literally this guy is doing all these meat preparation tactics to try to see what happens in the end result when he bakes off, fries, grills, what happens. I bounced it off my Aussie friends, and I'm sure they were like, hey, what was he thinking? What they did was they took a very nice looking ribeye and they slathered it with Vegemite. Yes, they painted it. And I don't mean just a little bit. They slathered. And this is like a 220 gram jar, like 14, almost, it was like 13, 14 ounce jar of Vegemite. And they just went, and they like slathered that thing like, oh man, it's got a bad rash. Let's put the goo on board. That thing turned positively brown. It looks like they were frosting a cake when they were done. And truthfully, it didn't look that unappealing when they did it. But what happened is this is the best part of the videos whenever they do the videos. So they do the cook-off, and they bring it over, and there's like this big wooden tray where they have like, you know, the control, and they have the one that they've treated, and they're like, okay, let's try first this one. And they both dig in, and they're like, oh, yeah, yum, 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 this is great. So then this time, they're like, okay, well, try this and tell me what you think. And the meat from the Vegemite coating, one was like, I mean, it looked like a slug was underneath a pile of salt. They just went, they just sucked down to like about maybe like half its volume, which normally you get anyway when you dry age. You lose a lot of moisture, you condense the flavor, all the muscle tissue kind of starts breaking down because literally you're almost rotting it. But anyway, you're okay. You're fermenting the meat almost. Call it what you will. So anyway, they basically had a hell of a time getting the Vegemite off. They cut the thing up and they cooked it off. And both of them are like, okay, well, let's try this. And they picked up the piece of meat and they're like, doesn't smell right. Okay, well, let's try it. And both of them pop the meat in their mouth and they're chewing, and automatically you see them going, like they're sucking the wrong end of something. And both of them just kind of look at each other, shake their heads, and immediately bail out and start spitting it into the trash can off camera. And they're like, okay, this did. So anyway, that one I posted up the video link to, and I cannot do it justice. But I posted up the video link to that, and you just have to see for yourself. It truly is just beyond epic what happened to that poor piece of meat. And both of them were like, nope. So let me scrolling over here again. So yeah, do not enrobe your meat with Vegemite. I mean, I'm sure it was like good intentions, because truthfully, the dirty little secret is you can actually use Vegemite as a soup base. You can actually use it to make Welsh rarebit. On a grilled cheese sandwich, it works amazingly well. For me, at least. I mean, I know the Aussies and me, and some Americans, we actually like this stuff. The vast majority of the Australians actually really aren't fans of Vegemite. But it is a kind of niche thing where a lot of people still do rather enjoy it. I mean, there's a New Zealand version. There's obviously a British version. So I think that pretty much everybody has like their own version of, basically yeast goo that they slather on things. And I can taste the difference between all the different varieties. Yes, there is different flavor profiles, just like tasting beer from place to place or trying clams or oysters from place to place. Yes, everybody has their own distinct thing going on, especially when you start talking like, goo. So anyway, that one did not work. Do not do that to your meat. Ever. Don't. That almost sounds wrong. Don't do that to your meat. Don't. Just don't do that to your meat, okay? Oh, man. This is one of those things being, I'm not gonna hide this from anybody. I'm not gonna be anything but completely honest. My mom was Jewish, my dad was Protestant, so basically I'm Judeo-Christian, okay? I mean, I'm actually a Jew who was baptized, so I'm both. I mean, I'm actually a Christian with Jewish heritage, so I'm actually more of a Jew for Jesus than a hard Zionist. That means pretty much all the people who are Jewish who want to set up the homeland and repatriate the homeland, of which it is the homeland of Israel. They wish to be in Israel. And those people who wish to be, any place else and side with Israel are still Zionist. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything. I'm anything but a Zionist, and good holding. But anyway, after the UAE signed its peace accord, or start of the peace accord with Israel, Bahrain did on September 11th. I mean, that is beyond cool and symptomatic of them expressing the, hey, we really should probably just start working together at this point. Enough of this, kind of, it really doesn't help anybody when we're just butting heads with each other. So it's now come to the point. I'm now looking at a story coming in from timesofisrael.com, and it says after the UAE and Bahrain have signed the deals, Trump has now announced that 7 to 9 countries are now also seeking peace with Israel. This is cool, man. You know what? If anything, bringing peace to that region and getting everybody all like, okay, we can work together here. We all basically do roughly about the same thing. We all roughly the same kind of people. The Israelis are innovative as all get out. They basically have a very, very good country in terms of like running things on their own, but they could bring success to us as well. Why don't we just work together here? I mean, it's all good stuff. It's all awesome stuff. And for time and eternal, these guys have been button heads. If they can finally get stuff together and tell the Palestinians to stop being, well, quite so snarky, maybe things might work out in the end run. So that's all good stuff, and it's awesome news to hear, man. I mean, anytime you have these guys finally starting to work together, wow, that's just phenomenal. I posted up this one meme, and I thought it was hilarious. I didn't make liberal neighbors change your Wi-Fi network name to Trump 2020 and your 5G to Trump 2024. You want to talk about somebody losing their cookies, man? Every time they log in, they're like looking at like the Wi-Fi networks. They're like, ow! Yeah, Logan, where's the beef? Oh yeah. Abram says, saying this is somebody who has issues retaining salt and iodine. I love the stuff. Yeah, it's one of those things you either like it or you don't. It's like they say, you either love it or hate it. There's no in between. Vegetabites, it's good for you, mate. Let's see. Scrolly. Put up numerous memes. I'm actually trying to find the actual stories in between all the memes I've been posting up. I've been having a little too much fun with people, and I find a piece of artwork and I configure it around to be something I think is just funny. Supposedly, Facebook is now very, very concerned because there's a report out by the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, that is preparing a possible antitrust lawsuit against Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, and any of the other associated clowns that currently employ, endure, and embolden themselves with your time, your algorithm sourcing of all that stuff that you do on the internet and that stuff that you do on Facebook that they use, sell, and reap dividends from. Because you know what? Even though Facebook is, and I'm doing the air quote thing again, even though Facebook is free, it isn't free. There's always going to be some way in which you're doing something where you're generating an algorithm or you're generating a behavior pattern or let's send them sales stuff. I cannot tell you the number of times where I talk to somebody and they're like, yeah, I was only talking about some blah, 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 blah. And my phone was on 4G. And the next thing you know, I start getting ads for the blah, blah, blah I was just talking about. You'll ever notice me, the 4G is turned off unless I am actively on the internet or I need to use it for work, doing Uber and Lyft and what have you. Otherwise, 4G is turned off. I mean, if I don't need it, it's turned off. I'm using it strictly as a phone. And yes, I know I have, the new kajigger with all the new toys and all the good stuff like that there, because this being a note and all, it's got, many other resources that would, 95% of them I'm probably never ever going to utilize because this thing is so packed with stuff. But it actually has been a fairly decent unit so far. Is there a couple of teething pains? Yeah, there's a couple of things I need to adapt to that weren't quite the same as my previous, just, had it forever phone that I know backwards and forwards, and I can just walk up to it and I got it down to a science. I literally can just, almost like do it in my sleep for what I need it to do. This thing, I'm still kind of going, how do you do that again? No, it's all right. Okay. And sometimes it's actually easier just to pop the pen out, use it as a stylus, which is nice because I actually have a stylus with me at all times now. So anyway, looking at technology for what it is, I don't really want these guys snooping around on my stuff more than possible. So that's stuff I really just don't post up. And I'd rather just talk about in the videos. And if they want to strip that information out and try to find some way to, put A and B together to make C, have fun, whatever. It's all usually past tense anyway when by the time I'm talking about it. So you're not going to do much better on that one. Speaking of past tense, and this is one that I was like, for some reason, it had never struck me to actually obtain it or obtain them, and I finally did. So I scrounged around on eBay. I found myself the Ken Warner edited DBI book. This is the 1985 edition, so 5th edition, and this one being the 1995 15th edition of Knives. Oh, dude, you want to talk about resource material? I'm finding stuff in here, half of which I really hadn't quite forgot about, but just it had been in the forebrain for so long that pretty much it's just stuff I was like, oh yeah, wow. And I started searching around on eBay. Of course, 90% of that stuff is like, unobtainium at this point. But the greater majority of the fact is you have the knowledge. And of course, it's not like you need batteries for books. It's not like you have, oh no, I accidentally wiped that memory card. Oh no, my flash drive just died. You don't have that stuff with printed paper technology because, well, it's been working forever. It even works from stuff we find over in ancient Egypt. So it'll work to current day. So I'm still scrounging around more resource materials. And the thing that's really cool is they're getting cheap. Well, not cheap, but cheap enough that I don't mind going out and buying a few at a time. Like I got both those books with shipping for like $20. And to try to buy the new ones, they're like $19. So I was like, dude, I'm going to scarf up the old ones while I still can. That's stuff that's actually going to come back and, it's going to reap me major dividends because that is information on stuff. Well, that's the stuff I like to collect anyway. Logan, yeah, seen Peace in the Middle East, man. It's good stuff, man. And I love the fact that they're going on about, I loved the fact when they were like going on about like when Trump was trying to get in, there's like, oh no, he's going to bring us in all forms of war and combat, this, that, and the other thing. And if anything, the guy might actually even be worthy of the Nobel Peace Prize. Oops. Obama won it for being black. Trump might actually win it for getting peace in the Middle East. Yeah, that's not going to be a good legacy for the guy before Trump. And really, it's like, what'd you do? I won being president because the Jews really don't have to worry about people like banging on their walls all the time now, and times are getting better. Yeah, the Jews don't have as many people banging on their walls. Yeah, people really kind of like not so much hating on them in the first place. All good stuff. I'm really not saying that like any one country is more guilty than any other because if you look at history for what it is. Every country's fought with every other country at some point, okay? Unless you're talking like Micronesia and like Russia, okay? I don't think the Hawaiians have really duked it out with Vladimir somebody or another. It just really hasn't happened. Other than that, pretty much everybody's duked it out with everybody. And I don't know how many different people have run over England, or how many people have run over France, or how many people have run over Germany, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary. Austria, all those areas have been just rife with combat for thousands of years. Africa, which tribe is fighting which tribe? The Zulu and Xhosa have been like for time and eternal. It's nearly not a big thing to say the Hutus after somebody else. The other guys are blah blah blah. it's people have been fighting each other for a long ass time. And maybe it's time to just turn the page and say, look, why don't we all just join together, get our forces together and go to the common enemy and start duking it out with fighting the universe. It's a small planet, guys. There's a whole big place up there to explore. You don't need to duke it out down here. Go up there. Plenty of room. Have a blast. Logan, funny how the ones who said that Trump was going to destroy the country are literally destroying the country. This is so true. Just give me 1 second. Allergy thing. Even though I took an allergy med, sinuses will speak up and be annoying. Sorry about that. But yeah, they're doing unbelievable. Let's see. Scroll. I don't know if you guys saw this exchange on Fox News, but Newt was there with the host and some libtard thing, I think. But the second he mentioned George Soros, it's like, you don't have to mention George Soros. It's like, why not? If he's the guy who's playing the Asian provocateur and putting the cash in and creating mayhem, trouble, and, swinging his nuts around where they don't need to be swung and making issues where they don't need to be made, isn't he going to be that guy that you talk about? They're like, we don't need to talk about George Soros. It's like, okay, fine. Well, I'm still going to talk about George Soros. They're like, okay, thank you so much for coming in, and we're going now. Bye-bye. And it literally was that kind of an interview where, truthfully, I'm pretty much saying, Fox News, I got an itch right here. Fox News. Yeah, that was beyond disrespectful for somebody of Newt's stature. And the other thing, too, is also, Newt is a historian par excellence. I mean, the guy literally knows so much about just pretty much everybody. He's definitely a cool guy to listen to because when he talks, he pulls stuff out of the ethers. It's like, wow, man, I never even heard that before. Now I got to do more research about it. So I rather like watching when Newt does appearances, just because he's the genteel Southern guy who pretty much you don't expect to pop off with stuff, and he just pulls things out of the ethers, and you're like, wow, very, very cool. So Fox News, you lost major points on that one. A lot of people are really pissed about that and thought it was just crap. Scroll. Me being insulting to Facebook, me being insulting to Zuckerberg. Scroll. Me putting up more obnoxious memes. Scroll. Oh, I completely forgot about, Shana Tova. If you guys are, cool. If not, okay. That's all I'm going to say about it. Let's see. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but for some reason, I don't know what it is. I'm going full circle with a lot of the knife stuff now where it's like, okay, I have the knives. Let me find something else that's rather cool about them. And I'm actually finding something called a knife blank. So that literally is like when they take the knife and in the process of, making the knife, they have the roll of steel that they roll out or this flat blank of steel and they bring it over to a press. Bam, they press it out. So they literally stamp the rough shape of the blade out. Then they start doing milling operations, grinding, shaping, what have you. And of course, threading this or tweaking that or, cutting off this piece and shaping this again or, forging it. And, basically the operations they're in to make the knife. There's obviously steps that they do. You have the raw steel, the raw form, the refined form, the polished form, the sharpened form, final assembly, and out the door it goes. Well, I've been obtaining the blanks, and they're really, really not the easiest thing to find. And I found this one guy on eBay, and then I found another guy on eBay, and I'm like, oh, dude, man, these things are badass. Because I'm getting them about 50 to 60% completion. They still need to be polished up. They still need to be finally fitted. They still need to be sharpened. In some cases, they need final shaping, and that's cool, man, because you have the final form as a collector piece, and then you have the item that is actually halfway there as the collector piece. So I'm stoked, man. And the only problem is some of them are dive knives, and they're stainless steel. Well, if you guys know anything about stainless steel metallurgy, most carbon steel is almost always magnetic. And there's a point that actually is kind of cool. Give me 1 second here. And you have a certain temperature, of course, you're banging it into shape and you don't want it to cool down too much. You don't want it to overheat too much. And you have that where you're at the point where you're going, okay, it's at its shape. It's just about as good as it's going to get. I now need to get it to its hardness level. So normally what they would do is they would take the steel and they would heat it up. And they heat it up and they heat it up and they'll run a magnet on it. On some pieces of steel. Some pieces of steel do this. Some pieces of steel don't do this. What you do is you run the steel to a certain point, and when you have the point where the magnet stops sticking, the steel has reached what they call a saturation point, and it starts forming those, intricacies and those crystal structures, and it crosses from one base form of steel to the stronger form of steel. And then you have a secondary process where you let it cool, or you quench it, or you literally just let it just sit around and drop the temperature. Then you put it into another heated area that then holds it at a certain temperature to stabilize that heat treatment that you just gave the knife. And that's really kind of cool stuff. But some stainless is magnetic, some stainless is not magnetic. Now, if you guys look at my cases, like the one I got over here, there, over my head, it is a knife counter display. I mean, the thing is if you look at it, it has magnets stuck on the inside because if it's painted black, but the panels that are behind it are steel. So normally what you do is you take knife, you put a couple of neodymium magnets on it, and you just plug it on there and it stays. Slight problem. Some of the knife blanks I got are magnetic. Some of them are not magnetic. So I'm going to have to get creative on how to make something stick on something that doesn't want to stick. And it's going to get interesting. But, it's one of those, par for the course things. And I've worked around non-magnetic knives before, so it's not even an issue. Like I have something called a dendritic steel blade. Now, what that is actually a amalgam of one base metal or a unusual pieces stick out like little saw teeth. And it's really kind of an unusual blade. It was kind of an unusual piece to acquire in the first place. I really would like to get a couple more. I remember back in the day, like way back in the day, I could have snapped them up for like $4 or $5 a piece. Now they're selling for probably close to like $75 to $90 a piece. It's like, if only I'd bought like an entire 55-gallon drum of these damn things, I would be making an okay amount of money, along with gravity knives and along with a bunch of other stuff back in the day. Oh man, if I could set a Wayback Machine, or if I could find a time machine, trust me, I'd be shopping. I would be shopping. Probably have a couple 63 vets in the garage too while I was at it. But that's me just kind of going on about things. Bargain states a history for all of history without Tito at the helm. Let's see. Okay, I'm not following that one, Abram. He got deep into history on that one. The Balkan states for all history. Oh, Balkan Tito. Okay, I got you. Okay. And that's kind of one of those areas that geography, I know roughly it's like one group of guys versus the other group of guys, one being more Russian, one being more Muslim. It's that squishy Middle European Baltic state stuff that I kind of know a little bit about, but I'll put it in perspective. I was at a car dealership once and the chick had a Yugo keychain, like I'm from Yugoslavia, and I said, "Oh, you singing in Russian?" And she just like, "What?" Yeah, because I don't speak Russian and I don't speak other Baltic languages. Hello, I'm south of there, man. Okay. I'm nowhere near that region. If you want to go down and dirty, my forebears are from Austria and Hungary, not the Baltics. Closest neighbor I got to those guys is Czechoslovakia. And the only thing they did was they come 20 countries. Anyway, so we do some more scrolling in here and come up with stuff. Let's see. Scroll. I don't know if you guys saw this posting up, but I posted this one up yesterday. I thought it was really emblematic of the half information that we seem to be receiving about COVID-19. And it was basically me copying a quote. So basically, let me just read this off real fast. My thought why I would suppress my immune system with 25 or micrograms of mercury. I think it's actually milligrams, which is actually quite a lot. Curious from a friend. Walking into a Target with a mask because it's mandated, I stopped by a nurse standing at the table, and she asked, "Have you received your shot this year? Would you like to sign here to get a shot?" I snort and tilt my head, point to my mask and say, "I've been wearing this since March. If it works for COVID, why wouldn't it work for the flu? Why, if it works, would I need to be injected with a synthetic virus/flu strain to avoid getting it when I'm supposed to be protected by this mask from all of this, or does this not protect me from the flu and only COVID?" She looked genuinely confused. Seriously, if the mask protects me and you from COVID and we've been waiting around for them for months, why would anyone need a flu shot right now? Interesting, huh? Let's see. Scroll. And of course, I fleshed out a whole bunch of technobabble and proceeded to tell people why things work the way they work for immunological and genetic tweaking. And the biggest problem I have with any COVID virus cure in terms of an immunization is simply this. To fight a virus, you need to know how to fight a virus. And to know how to fight a virus, you have to come up with a immunological agent, identify and fight the threat. That's the base problem with AIDS. Your body doesn't understand that AIDS is a threat. That's a basic problem with cancer. Your body doesn't understand that cancer cells are an aberration and need to be removed. That's why cancer kills you. Your body can't fight it off. If you could tweak your immunological system to fight off cancer, you'd probably kill every cancer cell in your body. The only problem is when you inject something in your body to tell your body to fight something, the agent that you've shot into your body is one of two things. One, it works. Two, it works, but there's a side effect that we haven't identified and we haven't found yet, which is going to be the problem with any of the COVID-19 immunizations in which they apply, is because the very soonest effect you will notice in the human body is usually 3 years after the injection. Now, that's why they have 10-year trials for any new medication, is because those guys going, yep, shoot me up. I'll, give me $200, shoot that crap into my body. For the next 3 years, they're going, okay, the dude simply just keel over and, legs up in the air like, the bug commercial? Or is there something else really going wrong with him? Did he suddenly become sterile? Did he suddenly develop cancer? Did he suddenly develop an aberration or a secondary illness? Or did he simply just do okay? In a perfect world, you get these shots, they work as advertised. The only problem is they know all three of the major shots that they're currently working on to fight COVID-19, 2 of them are potentially not going to work for crap. The last one should work, but they don't know the side effects. Here's the problem when anytime you do genetic tweaking. You take the virus, and essentially a virus really is just a protein ball packed full of information that basically goes, okay, literally that's why they describe computer viruses as a virus. It goes, it corrupts the system, and it completely changes up how everything works. Viruses do exactly the same thing. A virus is not a living entity. Essentially, all it really is like a hard drive that comes in and goes, boop, plugs into your cell, and it reprograms the cell. And then that cell being corrupted goes, okay, boss, and goes and plugs into every other cell it can run into, and they do the same thing. And before you know it, you have a chain fire event where everything just goes completely boobs up. So, in a perfect world, you come up with an immunological agent that goes, okay, I've identified the threat, bam, done, killed it. The problem is anytime that you do any kind of genetic tweaking, I've explained it simply as this. If you walked into NASA and you said, oh, wow, a supercomputer, how cool. And they're like, yeah, we got a problem with line code so-and-so and so-and-so and so. Fix it. And the guy goes, oh, okay, cool. So he walks up to the computer and goes, and pulls the wire. The computer may work, the computer may not work, or the computer may now have an aberration where it will never, ever get the correct calculations until it is repaired. Does dude know where to put that plug back in? He's looking at bazillions of wires and all kinds of plugs and everything else going flashing, everything else. He basically is now going, That's the problem with genetic manipulation at the current level we are right now. We know how to walk up to the supercomputer and pull that plug out, but we don't know what happens when we modify the computer. The other thing, too, is also when we do pull that plug out, we don't just pull the plug out. We basically pull the plug out with feet on the thing and just yanking it out as forcefully as possible with the most amount of brute force possible to the point where we're overstressing the programming language that we've now inserted into the genetic event that we made. It's dangerous stuff, folks, because there's a lot. And the language that we're using to modify the cells is instead of just walking up going, hey, man, I need you to this, that, and the other thing, walking up, putting the bullhorn in its ear and going, blowing its eardrum. That's the problem with genetic programming right now, because we think we know what we're doing, but we don't have a clue. We know kind of what we're doing, but we're messing with stuff that took bazillions of years to finally get to the point where it works and we can basically deal with it with, our basic immunological system to combat these things and fight these things off. Most of the time, with some assistance. I mean, you got to remember too that, you will get an infection every once in a while. Your body can't fight off, which is why we have antibiotics. The antibiotic didn't remove the threat. It basically was an artificial device to kill the invader. That's the base problem, is we think we know what we're doing when we really, truly kind of have no flipping clue. That's the problem. Let's see. Let me scroll over here real quick. Books. More stuff. I'll bring this up a bit, but I don't want to go into this too heavy. Facebook, when they have what they refer to as a intrusive security issue with your Facebook page, they log you out. And then you log back in using your password. They're like, hey, we noticed unusual activity on your page. Is all these posts yours? And then you go through there and go, yeah, that's me. Well, what they did to me was they logged me out. And they're like, well, we think that there's suspicious activity on your page, and you need to basically go through here and pull all these things out that aren't yours. And I was like, those are all mine, okay? That is my page. I haven't done anything different. Nobody's hacked my stuff. I haven't noticed anything strange. You guys are pulling stuff out of your butts, and you're saying that these things are happening when they truly are not true. Nobody hacked my stuff. You got over the internet, and you cannot stop it, and it makes your boss look like a doofus. That would be the Mark Zuckerberg blanks chickens. That's about as nice as I could say it. And I really, truly don't try to cuss too terribly much in my videos. But yeah, if you guys look on my timeline, it is the hashtag Mark Zuckerberg blanks chickens. And it's all over the internet. I mean, if you punch that up on Google, or if you click the hashtag, it's there, man. It shows up on Facebook. It shows up on Google. It shows up on the internet. Other people have carried my videos off of YouTube, and they do like a hosting thing. I don't know, actually they make money on it. Maybe they like have ads on their page, and they use my videos to steer traffic or something. But anyway, shape and form, that hashtag has legs. As it were, it has legs. Anyway, so yeah, they basically logged me out, and I changed my password twice. I might change it again just to be a douche nozzle, because I think that probably is just going to be the best way to do it. I just keep changing the password and twipping them up, and eventually I'm going to have some situation where they just go, all right, just stop, we'll relent. But the funniest damn thing was, and I posted up a screenshot of it, was I posted this picture that I got from somebody else on Facebook, and it was a picture of like the Biden-Harris election thing, and it was the eye in the Biden, kind of like him like creeping onto somebody else. And the picture of the Harris was, instead of being an A, it was a pair of legs with like almost like a pair of panties, like suspended in between. Like, she's being like, very friendly to somebody else. And they said immediately, oh, that's harassment. You're going to get 30 days. Like, flash bulb fast. That post disappeared, and I did not have a 30-day. And I've been like poking the bear ever since. Like, you guys, right there, poking the bear ever since, daring them to ban me, block me, or what have you. And I've been actually poking the bear. You were so hot to trot and so badass, and all of a sudden now you're like, oh, please don't, just take that one post off, and you can stay on Facebook. Yeah, well, that's nice, but it's such crap. Anyway, so my tale of woe, and I have tickets here. And my formerly nicotine-stained fingers. And I'm not going to show you like barcodes and stuff, but it is literally 2 Southwest tickets. Now, what happened was, I don't really talk about like, when I'm away from home for extended periods. I just don't do that. Okay, that's like stupid. Hey, come in and check my stuff out when I'm not here, kind of things. It's just dumb. I don't do that. So anyway, I was going to fly out and meet up with my sister in Phoenix, Arizona, where my uncle's house is. He's now suffering mental deficiencies, Alzheimer's or something along those lines. And he's really not all there anymore. And he became a hoarder. I guess, the physiology and the psychology of it is such as that he was trying to keep those things, that he didn't have in his head anymore. He was like, I'll just keep them around. That way I'll remember them. So his house is hoarded and filled with stuff. I was going to go out and I was going to assist her. There was a major, and I'm going to try to keep this about as neutral as possible, but there was a major misunderstanding on how things were going to be structured. I was going to be outlaying a bunch more cash than I really truly intended to do. So the situation is I flew from Baltimore Washington International Airport, which is, the easiest airport for me to get from my house. Being in Baltimore, it's like under half an hour from my house. It's really accessible. Very, very easy airport to get in and out of. Even the TSA is not horrendously terrible there because I do fly Southwest. Most of the time, they're like, just go. Just, walk through here, put that down, just go. They don't really want to mess with you too much. There's just too many people hitting them at any one time. Even now during the COVID protocol stuff where traffic is kind of, that was a 4-hour and 30-minute flight of 2,272 miles. Now, the thing is I've actually been thinking ahead about this, and I was doing some planning ahead, and I got myself a set of noise suppression earbuds. Get those. Truly get those. I have 2 sets of Sony now, the old ones and the new ones. I have the first generation ones. I get the second generation ones. I flew with the first generation ones. They have a little bit of a hiss to them when the amp kicks on. But the noise suppression and the ability to hear stuff is phenomenal. Truthfully, I literally, instead of having my laptop, tablet, instead of having my tablet cranked up to max volume and still hearing tons of ambient noise, everything intrusive, and it's just ridiculous, those noise suppression earbuds knocked down the sound level to the point where I could run that thing at about 75% versus 100% the whole time. That alone is just phenomenal. The biggest thing on that one I can tell you for a fact is also on takeoff, where you're hearing like the engine just, ripping along. It drops that noise level a lot. The nice thing about them is that you have a monitor button on them besides the power button. So when like somebody walks up, like the stewardess walks up, wants to ask you a question, you hit the monitor button, it blanks the sound that you're being suppressed from, so you can hear the stuff that's going on. Because on the earbuds is 2 microphones, and they're real-time hearing and canceling the sound out by giving contrasting sound suppression. Really cool technology. I cannot tell you enough how much it works. It's very, very cool. And they're getting cheap on eBay. Both sets I got were under like $25, and both of them work spectacularly. They are cool tech. Get yourself some noise suppression units, and you will find your flights are much, much better. Trust me on this one. So anyway, I was there, had a text conversation with my sister. Things went surprisingly from worse to even more worse. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to cut my losses. If I stay here and I do stuff and you know what? I'm just going to fly back home. And she was kind of like, okay. So at that point, I'm like, okay, my reservations were as such as I was going to be leaving out on Sunday. So I was going to be leaving out on Sunday, the 20th, I believe it was. Yes, I'll be leaving out Sunday the 20th, staying in Phoenix, Arizona until Saturday the 26th, and then flying back. Well, same day, I'm back in Phoenix Airport going, okay, Southwest person, I'm not staying here. Here's my luggage. Here's my other carry-on. I'm not staying here for the full entire time I'm supposed to be here. Here's my number of blah, 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 my confirmation number. She punches in the computer, goes, okay, cool. What do you want to do? It's like, I want to go back home today. She's like, all right, let me see what we can do here. And call somebody else on the phone, and they're going back and forth, going in the system, checking things and switching things around and considering this and checking out that and all the rest of that fun stuff. So basically the end run was I wasn't going to fly direct. And that was the one thing that kind of really annoyed me, is the fact that the flights lined up, both flights like cheap. I think it was like 110, 105, both directions, non-stop flights. So 220 and like tax and stuff, I was like 230 in the hole or something. I was like, sweet, man, this is great. Not so much when you have to change the reservation. You want to fly back another day, because then they're like, oh, we got our hooks in you now, man. Just throw us the credit card. We'll be sure to charge you. So anyway, way, shape, and form is essentially, I then had to lock in a flight to get back, to my side of the country, which is the East Coast, obviously back to Baltimore. And the girl's like, all right, let me see what I got going on here. She goes, all right, well, I got one here. It'll get you back. You'll be back by, like midnight or so. And I'm like, all right, well, that's not an issue. You can get an Uber Lyft, or hopefully Mrs. Dude is still awake. We don't live that far from the airport. She knows where the airport is, obviously. She used to work around there. Knows, obviously, the airport. She's been in and out of there enough times. So she can come by and pick me up and head on back home. So, well, first you're going to go to Las Vegas. Then you're going to go back to Baltimore. So I'm like, all right, I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, all right, I know from Phoenix to Las Vegas, like 400 miles. It is. It is. So then I roll out of there, and I barely make the flight. I get really turned around here. Hang on a second. Let me look at the paperwork here. I get really, really turned around, and I'm looking at the boarding group, which would be like, B blah, 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 or A blah, 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 or C blah, blah, blah. It's those group of people that you go onto the plane with, and they pull you out in groups and get you on the plane. Because of the COVID protocols, the middle seats in the plane are empty, so they have half the population, and they're loading the plane with 10 people at a time from each A, B, C, D, E group, whatever. But there was only A and B because there's only half the people on the plane. So my gate was actually C8, and I was at B27. Well, needless to say, I knew, get the hell out of Dodge, get down to the proper place, because I asked somebody who was on staff, and she's like, oh, no, you're over here, and you need to be over there. Needless to say, I'm making best speed because I'm looking down at like takeoff time, and it's getting tight. So I'm running and gunning like crazy, making best speed. Obviously, I got my backpack on my back, and then I'm pretty much almost running through this entire airport. And I think I pretty much covered about a half mile, 3/4 of a mile in like record time, because I knew if I didn't get to that plane, I was going to be stuck in Phoenix for another day. So anyway, way, shape, and form, I finally hit the plane, make it there like just in time. They were still loading the latter part of the Bs. I think I was like B27, and they were loading the latter part of the Bs. Thank God it was the slow loading that actually probably saved my bacon on this one, because the major drag that it took for getting everybody on board actually is probably what saved my bacon. So I'm going to get on that thing, and I then have a 1-hour flight, 369 miles up to Las Vegas, and it is wall-to-wall slot machines everywhere. I cannot do this justice. Literally, everywhere you look in this airport is slot machines. Like as soon as you come off your plane and you take the turn out of that, that jetway or the area where you wait and get on the plane, I looked over and there's like a small casino, basically. And there's slot machines all down the length of the wall. The restaurants on your left side, machines on your right side, all the way down to the point where you get to the area where you need to be. And the thing that was nice is I had about almost an hour in between layover between Las Vegas and Baltimore. So Mrs. Dude, being Mrs. Dude, she's like, so you're in Vegas. Why don't you gamble? Why don't you throw a quarter in the machines? I was like, me? Gamble? I don't gamble. So at that point, I was like, I'm not even going to throw any money at these dumb things, because you don't win gambling. It's entertainment. You have to see this money that you're spending for entertainment. And the way I was seeing things, I was already enough in the hole as it was, so I wasn't feeling it, man. I was out of there. So anyway, basically, I'm now in the hole for an hour, waiting, went and got some food, sat down, chowed down, basically had enough time to eat, relax for a few minutes, and then get on to the next plane. Well, if you guys know anything about air travel, here's the problem. The problem with air travel is exactly this. You have the jet stream. The jet stream goes from west to east. If you're going from east to west, or is it west to east? What it is it's blowing one direction and it's not blowing the other direction. So you actually go faster going one way than you go faster going the other way. And so coming back, instead of being 4 hours and 32 minutes, it was 5 hours and 9 minutes. But also, it is further. Las Vegas to Baltimore is 2,329 miles, and it was a 5-hour, 9-minute flight. Now, at that point, my tablet was fine. So I had plenty of stuff to watch. I was playing, games in between videos and all the rest of that good stuff like that there. Total in of actual flight time for one day flying there, Vegas, back, I put in 4,920 air miles in one day. Now, to put it in perspective, that sounds kind of daunting. But I've been to San Francisco before, and I've flown to 5 hours from Baltimore to San Francisco. The mileage from Baltimore, BWI, to San Francisco's airport, SFO, is only 2,457 miles. This was one for the annuals, folks. And my credit card was just paid off, so I had, obviously credit limit to play with, but very annoying. Very, very annoying. So anyway, that's where I found myself on the Sunday, having good old times and good stuff like that there. And oh man, but you know what? This is another time of Yes, it's another time of... That's right. I'm eating weird stuff again. And it's not just any kind of weird stuff. Oh, no. We're talking about stuff that's just, it's unique. Okay. Let's just put it as that. It's very unique. Okay. So anyway, what can we possibly say about this stuff? But it is, that's tuna. Okay. That's obviously the stuff that you do want to eat. But there's this. It is called Tuno. So Tuno by Loma. And they say it's tuna, but the big question is it tuna? Oh, no, that's not tuna. It's safe to say it is not tuna. All right, so anyway, what is in the natural flavor? That cracked me up. It's vegan, and they say it's got natural flavor in it. So they say it's tuna, but oh no, that's not tuna. It's probably not. All right, so I really don't commend this to you guys, but you know me. I'm the one that has to be doing it because, well, I wouldn't do anything to anybody that I wouldn't do to myself first. So, you know. All right, let's just see the yumminess. I don't commend this to you. I really don't. That was a very weak hiss. Oh. Logan, it's tuna-like. Yeah, it's not tuna. It's tuna-like. Oh, my word. You know what it looks like, truly? It looks more like cat food than tuna. and I do it in the worst possible sense. There's like gravy. There's like gravy. Oh, mommy. It's like gravy in here. Oh, okay. Sniff check. That does not smell like tuna. No, that does not smell like tuna in the slightest. Smells more like it smells more like cat food. Of all things, it really truly smells more like cat food. Oh man. Oh. You know what that means, folks? Oh. That doesn't even taste in the slightest bit like tuna. If I had to throw a stick at it and make it stick, to me, this tastes like bad beef stew. That's what it tastes like. It tastes like bad beef stew. And I don't mean even like the good bad beef stew. I mean, it tastes like bad beef stew. Texturally, it's like little nodules of gack covered in gravy. I don't know how in the world anybody could say, I'm a vegan, but I truly adore this stuff. This is just the best thing forever. And it's just like tuna. No. There's like a peas and like carrot and like kind of like stew thing going on. It doesn't taste in the slightest bit fishy at all. Just no. I'm almost tempted to crack this can of tuna to get the taste out of my mouth. I'm almost wondering if I put it down if my cat would eat it or which of my cats would eat it. Oh, dude. No, Logan, if you get a hold of this stuff in the Great White North, don't. Do not, okay? It's not going to be... It's going to be more... And then you'll be walking around going, yeah, no, this was a bad case of a pile of that tasted like let me see the appropriate sound effect. Let's see here. Yeah, it tasted a lot like it. It tasted just like it. Why would I do that to my cats? Good point, dude. I do these things to myself so my cats don't have to. You got me to buy Marmite so anything's possible. Marmite's not that bad, but I prefer the taste of Vegemite. To me, Vegemite just tastes better. Marmite's okay. If I can't find Vegemite, I can eat Marmite, all right? But I prefer Vegemite. I truly do. It's just, to me, it just tastes better. Oh, man. Ugh. Don't do that stuff. Just do not do this to yourself, okay? Don't. Or you're simply just going to be going, you
juggling thunder.
Exactly. Thank you, man. That's exactly what you're going to be saying. Wow. That was one of the, you know what? This I think is like the second or third time out I've been with this Loma stuff and tried some of their products, and it has yet to disappoint. I'm not kidding you. I've tried other Loma products and they have yet to disappoint. I think the other one I tried was their beef stew or something, and it's like in this sack, and it was not good. This is really, we're going to call this tuna now. That is not good. Don't do that to yourselves, okay? Do not eat vegan tuna, all right? Why? I got to do this stuff so you guys don't have to. So that's why we have an episode of... Just don't do it. Right, thanks, girls. Don't, okay? Just don't. All right, boys, what'd you think about that? Was it delicious? Indeed, it wasn't. All right, folks, on this one, I appreciate your kind attention. We're running 10 minutes over, and you guys hung out with me. You get the gold star for attendance. Good stuff like that there. I truly, truly appreciate your kind indulgence. You guys hanging out with me. Good stuff like that there. And do be sure to check out my buddies over at Around. See if this thing will let me work here. Wrong keyboard. How you want to do that? Oh, man. Around the Cabin news, Around the Cabin food, Around the Cabin buy, sell, and trade, Around the Cabin school self-reliance, Around the Gardens Gate, and Around the Cabin medicinal cannabis. Find me on Twitter as 80SPCC. Find me over here on Facebook, obviously, as Dude Jerky. They still haven't booted me off, so apparently I haven't been snarky enough. I need to get more sarcastic. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll get more sarcastic. Oh, what the hell are they going to do? Give me 30 days? Pfft, like, that really stops me. You guys over on Facebook, you guys over on YouTube, of course, 80s Podcast channel. I appreciate your kind attention. You guys hanging out with me tonight. I know you got many other places to go, but you hung out with me on a Tuesday. Good stuff like that there. I appreciate your kind attention. I'm going to break off of this one. Eat good, keep it tendering as always. You know it, you love it. And we find those stupid end buttons again. I always do this. It's like, where's the end button? Where is it hiding? Well, I kind of outsmarted the laptop this time because I bought a new mouse. Old Mouse Horrors. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Have a good one. Eat good, keep it tendering as always. You know it, you love it. Don't eat fake tuna. Please don't eat fake tuna. See you guys.